Guess who's back? What's going on, guys? Welcome to Backchat TV. So, what a fight. The weight bully Benavidez beats down much smaller man in David and Goliath clash. Sorry, I'm being a bit of a hater. I'm not even going to pretend. I was rooting for the underdog, Caleb Plant, and he didn't almost pull it off or anything, but, he was looking good throughout the fight and he brought the best that he could. But like I said in my previous prediction, Benavidez just looks like a much bigger man, much bigger. I don't know. He's listed at being 6 foot and Caleb Plant being 6'1". I mean, just with the eye test, anyone can see that's wrong. Benavidez looks like 6'3". But I don't want to go on about the fact that he's much bigger, but Benavidez actually said before the fight that a lot of people underestimate his power and they don't realize how big he is. And I think a lot of people don't realize how big he is. And it was quite evident in the ring. It looked like two different weight classes. Personally, Benavidez looks like, I've heard some people say he's a heavyweight. I wouldn't go that far. He looks like a cruiserweight, definitely. 100% he looks like a cruiserweight. He could easily, after he is finished with the super middleweight division, he can easily go up to cruiserweight and, be at home there. But Caleb Plant couldn't. He could never go to cruiserweight. I think that's kind of the difference as well. There was a clear power difference. And although Caleb Plant was putting everything into his punches and his combinations, he was racking off 5-6 punch combinations, which looked amazing. Didn't make a dent in Benavidez at all. There was a few instances where he caught Benavidez, and didn't really make a dent in the bigger man at all, not at all. But then when Benavidez came forward with his jab made a damage on Caleb Plant like I've never seen Caleb Plant be damaged before, There was just a huge difference in power, and Benavidez really is a big, strong guy. Much stronger than I actually thought he was. But I don't want to go on too much about him just being bigger and stuff, and that's the reason why, because that wouldn't be a fair assessment. It's not just that he was bigger. Benavidez did some amazing things in there that even if he was the same size as Caleb Plant, I think he still would have won. He did some very smart things. He took his time, cut down the ring. He was getting closer. He used his jab better than Caleb Plant's jab, because everyone was talking about Caleb Plant's jab. Benavidez actually had a great jab. Another thing that was massively underrated in Benavidez, and even I did the same thing, was his defense. So I hold my hands up. A lot of things I said not so nice about Benavidez. I thought that maybe his defense wasn't that good. His defense was amazing to me. Amazing. He keeps it very simple. He does the basics so well. Keeps his hands up, that tight guard, and when he does put his tight guard up, even the way he has his hands, he really has a very impressive tight guard that you just can't get through. You really can't hit him clean. He's got a great tight defense. So I was wrong about that with his defense, and it does make it easier when you are quite a lot taller as well. He often leans back to get out of range, and if it was anyone else, they probably wouldn't get out of range by doing that. So he does have some advantages by being, the taller, bigger man, but he uses them really well. And I think that's the important thing. It's not just about being bigger, but it's about, can you use that size? Benavidez, to me, uses his size better than anybody else. If you look at someone like Anthony Joshua, who's 6'6", he doesn't fight like a 6'6" man, He doesn't use his weight advantage. He doesn't really use his reach advantage, really, going forward. And it's a total opposite to how Benavidez fights. Benavidez puts the pressure on you from early. He was very, very sharp in this fight, and that's the reason why Caleb Plant couldn't catch him with anything really clean, like the way he caught Darrell. But one thing I would say, I made a prediction prior to this. I was obviously wrong, because I went for Caleb Plant. But in a way, I was right. I'm going to give myself this because I could tell that Caleb Plant's game plan was going to be a little bit different from what people thought. He's going to be more aggressive. He's going to be fighting on the back foot, but he's going to be more aggressive. He's going to be going for the knockout. And I was right about that. I knew that the fight against Canelo, the loss against Canelo, and the win against Darrell had taught him something, that he can't just be on the back foot being defensive, pity-patting punches and looking for an opening. He has to use his speed and timing on the back foot to actually go for the knockout. Because if he goes for it, he'll get it, or he's got a good chance of getting it. And I saw, even though he got beat down in this fight, I saw an improvement in Caleb Plant. Definitely, I saw an improvement. He was fighting. He had a good jab. He was transitioning from the back foot, from his back foot game, and using his speed to go for the 1-2. And he did that a few times, and he just wasn't successful because Benavidez actually was really sharp and was ready for it. He had his hands up. He had a really tight guard, like I said. He kept pressuring Caleb Plant behind that tight guard, and eventually he forced Caleb Plant to keep moving, which Caleb Plant didn't really want to do. He wanted to be evasive, but he wanted to be coming forward and throwing shots and actually making it, offensive, not just defensive, because he didn't want to run out of gas. And I think he did a good job of trying to do that, but, he just couldn't do it, just couldn't do it against Benavidez, and he ended up kind of fading a little bit. But even though, so people say he faded, but he was still throwing back, even when he was getting hit and he was all bloody and you could see there was a power difference. He was still coming back and throwing shots all the way to the end. I commend Caleb Plant. I think it was an amazing performance. I think it's just as simple as the fact that, he is probably a number 3. Well, we can't say that because you've got Charlo and stuff like that, but Demetrius and Andrade, we don't know where they all stack up. But I would say that Canelo is number 1 and Benavidez is number 2. And that is one thing that we can't argue, On a performance like this, we can't argue with that. Altogether, like I said, a great performance. I was hating a little bit on Benavidez, but I do like him. It's just that at first I thought that, people were kind of underestimating Caleb Plant's skills and how much he's improved. And I hadn't seen that much improvement in Benavidez in his game. But now that I've watched him, I've seen improvement in Benavidez's game as well. Now, I never saw it in his last fight, but he's a underrated fighter, very smart. He paces himself really well. He cuts off the ring really well. Nice tight defense, great jab, much faster hand speed than you would initially think. And, he's a very complete fighter, Being a lot bigger helped him as well. He was evidently stronger than Caleb Plant, even though Caleb Plant looked very strong and was in great shape. He was much stronger than Caleb Plant. And like I said, it just looked like a bigger man who should really be maybe like a cruiserweight fighting a slightly smaller man. And size definitely makes a difference, It definitely made a difference in this fight. And I would like to see how it's going to translate between Benavidez and Canelo, because Canelo often outweighs a lot of his opponents. But as we saw before, when Canelo moved up and fought Bivol, he couldn't use that weight and strength advantage that he often has. And I want to see what happens with him and Benavidez now, because Benavidez is going to be just as strong as Canelo. So I want to see how that plays out. But yeah, it was a good fight. I wasn't against Benavidez. I didn't want him to lose or anything. I like him. I just wanted an underdog story, I like Caleb Plant. I think he seems like a nice guy. I think he's got good skills. You know what I mean? And I think if he fights somebody kind of his own size, I think, I would edge him to beat almost anyone that's kind of his size naturally. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Good performance, fight of the night, really. Fight of the month, maybe even fight of the year. It was a very good fight, very competitive. I think Caleb Plant He looked really sharp for the first 6 rounds. He gave it his all. He was more aggressive, which I think is something that I wanted to see from him. But even though he did all those things and he did everything right, he never looked like he was really making a dent in Benavidez at all, really. Even when he threw the combinations, and Benavidez would just put his hands up, completely cover up, tight defense, and yeah, he couldn't get through. But even when he did get through, Benavidez never looked hurt. Never looked hurt. He's a very tough guy, a lot tougher than I thought, because Caleb Plant can really punch, and he didn't move Benavidez at all. So yeah, that impressed me a lot. Let me know what you think of the fight. I was hating a bit, like I said at the beginning. I was hating, but I take it all back. Benavidez was the rightful winner. He won comfortably, and I actually agree with something Benavidez said in the post-fight conference. He said that if the ref would have stopped Caleb Plant from holding so much, he may have got the knockout, because he may have clipped him with something. But because Plant was, jabbing and then he was holding, he wasn't really able to get the knockout. But yeah, he definitely wasn't far away from stopping Plant. So Plant can say he can be proud of his performance. He definitely can be proud. If you can be proud in a loss, then this is a loss that I think he can be proud of. But yeah, Benavidez goes forward. Now we all want to see him get it on with Canelo. Let me know what you think about him and Canelo. Who do you think would win? What do you think of this performance? Do you think this was Caleb Plant's best performance or worst performance in losing? What do you think of Benavidez? How good is he? Do you think that he could one day go up to cruiserweight and challenge anybody at that weight class? Do you think he could do the same thing as Canelo and go up and fight Bivol or Ramirez or someone like that? Let me know what you think. I'm on to the next one.